This is Susan Bradley for AskWoody.com. This is Task for the Weekend, September 18th, 2021. So this is almost fall in North America, and I like to also call it the squirrel away time. So what is squirrel away time? So if you are on 21H1 or even on 2004, I think 21H2, I know all these numbers are a little bit confusing sometimes, is going to be out soon. And what is 21H2? That's the fall feature release for Windows 10. Windows 11 is very much in the news. Windows 10, not so much. We don't know exactly when 21H2 might be out. We think it's soon. And just to be safe, I always like to, at this time, to download and keep a copy of 21H1. So that way, if I need to rebuild my machine or do what's called a repair install, I have that media around. Now, if you're a business owner with volume license, you don't have to deal with this. But if you're a consumer or home user or even a small business like me, where you don't do volume license, this is why you want to download those ISOs so that you have them should you need to do a repair install. So there's a certain website that you go to, I'll show you in just a bit, and you want to download a copy of 21H1 and keep it either on a computer, on a flash drive, on an external hard drive, whatever means that you want to keep that extra copy. And so the link for this website is on the blog post page. And basically you come here and you want to download. You want to scroll down a little bit, and you want to create Windows 10 installation media. And you want to download that tool now. And you want to open that file. And you want to say yes to the UAC prompt. And it will start and it will get a few things ready. And you get to the page where you have to accept the end user license agreement. If you ever want to have fun, actually read that end user license agreement. Click on accept. And then it gives you an options of where you're going to save that. If you have a flash drive of greater than 4 gigs, usually about 8 is good. You can have it bigger than that, but usually I keep one about 8 gigs for this purpose. Otherwise, you can put it on your local computer or on an external hard drive. I want to choose Create Installation Media. Click Next. We're going to make the media of exactly what's on this computer. Next. And this is where you either choose a USB flash drive or an ISO where you can put it on your computer. And the trick that I do here is I come down here and I name it. So I remember exactly what version I have, because I guarantee you, if you do this often enough, you will not remember what version you have, and you'll have to mount it or open it up to try to figure out what it is. So I just make it easy for myself, and I put 21H1, and I save it, and then it does its thing. And what it's doing now is it's actually downloading it, so you want to have a good internet connection, and this will take a bit of time. Now, why do I always recommend this? It's useful for 2 major things in my personal opinion. Number 1, to do what's called a repair install over the top, where you open up that ISO, click on Setup, and you can do a repair over the top of an existing computer operating system, and it does not impact your files 1 bit. And especially if you're having Windows Update issues, or if you get some evidence in using DISM or SFC scan now that there's been some corruption, it's literally the only way I've personally found to do a repair of the operating system, and you keep all of your data. The second thing I use it for is clean installs. Now, every now and then I get a computer where you just cut your losses and say, we're going to do a clean install. And especially on a system that's already been activated, when you do a clean install, it will reactivate automatically with the activation that was on the machine before. Now, the only thing that I will say is you have to watch when you do that. You'll get what's called a fun install. So in a perfect world, if a computer is somewhat generic, has pretty normal system, pretty much all of the drivers will come back merely doing a clean install and getting the drivers from Windows Update. If you have a unique machine, the other day I had a Lenovo laptop and I reinstalled it because I was having some issues. The remoting into another machine kept getting slower and slower, so it's like, okay, let's reinstall it. And when I did, I was left with some missing drivers in the device manager section. And I literally went to the vendor website to look up my serial number to find the exact drivers, because that's the safest way to get drivers. Do not search on random websites. Do not go to random websites for drivers. You will end up with potentially questionable sites and questionable software. So always go to the OEM website and find the drivers. It's one of the reasons why, if you know what you're doing and you are a gamer type, then go ahead and build your own computer. If you're a normal user like me, buy your computer from the major operating system companies, or I shouldn't say major vendors, hardware vendors. HP, Dell, Asus, Lenovo, Acer. I'm sure I'm forgetting some out there. The name brand ones means that you can go to their website even years later, even after the computer is out of date and no longer officially supported by the vendor. You can go back to their website and download drivers for the machine. So when you're dealing with home, business, desktops, or laptops, I strongly recommend that you have name brand machines. If you're doing a gaming machine, make sure you have name brand parts for your machine. You know, get an Intel board, get a NVIDIA video card. Make sure you stay with name brands, because then you'll be able to go back and find those drivers. When you reinstall a computer, come into Device Manager, and how you get there is you just go down here to the search box and type in device, can't spell, Device Manager. And once you get in there, make sure everything doesn't have any exclamation points. And you can even go up here and say, and I'm going to see if I just uninstalled something that didn't have a driver, just so I can see if I could make it show up so you can see what I'm talking about. So what I'm looking for is anything that doesn't have a driver. And when it doesn't have a driver and isn't happy, see how this has a yellow triangle with an exclamation point? It means that it's not happy with the driver. This happens to be a Western Digital USB device. And see how it says the drivers for this device are not installed. So I need to go out to the Western Digital site and see if I can find these drivers. Sometimes the drivers are unusual ones down here in system devices. And those usually are the ones that are a little more hard to find. And these are the ones I recommend that you go to an OEM, the vendor website where you bought the computer, and search on it and look for the drivers. And usually what you can do, Dell has these, HP has these. Just search on Dell driver download. Make sure you go to the actual Dell website. And most of the sites have the ability where you can put in a service tag, or you can identify the system and it will scan and say, hey, here's your drivers. So you can either put in your service tag, or you can click on this download install support assistance for Dell, and it will actually search and find your system. So this is the way I recommend that if you're Reinstalling Windows 10 on a computer, make sure you go back to the vendor website, find the drivers. Don't search on the random web. I guarantee you will come across some nasty driver somewhere and you won't be a happy person afterwards. Have a great week. Newsletter comes out tomorrow. We're still at MS DEF CON 2. I recommend at this time to install 21H1. Now granted, I'm saying that once I give the DEF CON 4, but once the all clear is given, make sure you're on 21H1. Make sure you download an ISO of 21H1 and save it for a rainy day. Until next time, this is Susan Bradley for AskWoody.com.